There are also questions over why his ACCC didn't intervene sooner. Remember, it had the power to make the compulsory recall happen. And it also knew the Americans had acted back in 2015. Instead, the ACCC says the Australian recall actually wasn't its responsibility, that it was really the concern of another government safety regulator, the Department of Infrastructure. The US government forced car makers into a compulsory recall 2.5 years before you acted in the same way. Why was the ACCC quite literally asleep at the wheel?
The ACCC got involved in July 2017. Motor vehicle recalls are handled by the Department of Infrastructure, just like food industry recalls are handled by Food Standards Australia.
You knew American drivers were being protected, and yet you didn't move to protect Australian drivers in the same way for 2.5 years.
The recalls are done by the Department of Infrastructure, they're not done by us. So,
well, that was the voluntary recall, but under the ACL, the Australian Consumer Law Act,
yes,
you have the power to mandate the compulsory recall.
But the Department of Infrastructure was in charge of this issue. Unfortunately, it did take the death of Mr. No in July 2017. Then ministers stepped in and asked the ACCC to get involved. We took it over from July 2017.
But 60 Minutes knows that as far back as 2015, the Department of Infrastructure was talking with the ACCC about how to match the US action, because car makers here weren't doing enough under the voluntary recall. The department sought the ACCC's help because the consumer watchdog had more legal power to act. The ACCC describes these as low-level discussions involving junior officials. But whatever the seniority, these officials were very concerned about the safety of Australian drivers. In this email, we can reveal that a department official wrote to the ACCC.
On the one hand, we have the biggest ever worldwide vehicle recall, massive fines in the US, 8 deaths, many injuries. On the other, we have no known incidents in Australia. We really don't understand why this should be the case. Are we just lucky so far?
Despite the warnings, it appears that their fears were not escalated up to Mr. Sears.
The only discussions I'm aware of was where our people at the ACCC were asked by the Department of Infrastructure to come to some meetings because we control the Safety Recall website.
In the end, the Department of Infrastructure never formally asked the ACCC to step in, but the ACCC also didn't act and didn't use its power to move to a compulsory recall until after the July 2017 death of Mr. Nyo. Whatever the delineation between the two safety regulators, the system appears to have failed. It will now be up to the coroner to examine if action should have been taken sooner.
So every year, month and week that went by, it was more likely that this would happen, inevitable that this would happen.
It was always going to happen. It was so, and our motorists are just allowed to play Russian roulette.
Drive around in ignorance with these aging time bombs in in front of their vehicle.
You've had a mandatory recall here in the States for years before our mandatory recall was put in.
Yes.
For exactly the same vehicle, for the same age vehicle, for the same age airbags. Can you understand how that could happen?
That is totally inappropriate, and obviously the Australian authorities had to be aware of what was happening in the States.
Former Takata chemical engineer Mark Lilly says the nightmare is far from over. Right now, most car makers are replacing the deadly Takata airbags with newer Takata airbags that still use the dangerous ammonium nitrate. The only difference is that the new ones contain a desiccant.
The desiccant will take up moisture until it's saturated, after which it is of no use at all. They're not fixing it, and they know they're not fixing it. They're postponing it.
So it means the replacement airbag will itself have to be replaced in 6 years' time.
You certainly should take your airbag in for the replacement. You'll get a new version that is less likely to fail. But if you think that solves the problem, you're fooling yourself.
In the US, justice has caught up with Takata. Mark Lilly's former boss, Hideo Nakajima, was one of 3 company executives that have been charged with concealing information about faulty airbags.
It's an unbelievable scandal. How we got to this position will one day be a study of corporate misbehaviour
At the highest level.
at the highest level.
Finally, the Takata whistleblowers feel like their voices are being heard, but they're frustrated that it's all too late.
You ask yourself the question we've done when you get to the point where you start beating your head against the wall and you get a response and nobody's responding, you've done everything you think you know how to do, but at the end of the day there's still those what else could I do? That's what you do.
Every time I see another report of a fatality or a serious injury, I have trouble seeing that.
The story just seems to get worse, doesn't it? Just the nightmare continues, if I can put it that way.
Yes, it does. And I think the public is not fully aware of how grave the danger is.
Where do you think it ranks in terms of scandals?
In the automotive industry, I believe it's the largest scandal in the world.
If you want to check if your car is affected by the Takata airbag recall, go to ismyairbagsafe.com.au and enter your number plate and state or territory. Or you can go to the productsafety.gov.au site and click on the Takata airbag recall link for a full list of affected cars. Still to come, is social media making our kids sick? These parents almost lost their little girl. How an instant obsession
I saw this beautiful body.
tore the family apart. Ordering children's.
It felt like that.
It was. That's next on 60 Minutes.
Some of the world's best surfers will revisit Port Stevens from November 8th to the 13th for the return of the Port Stevens Toyota Pro at the idyllic Ruby Beach. For more information, check out surfingnsw.com.au or check out the broadcast on worldsurfleague.com.
This McHappy Day, $2 from every Big Mac sold goes to providing a home away from home for seriously ill children and their families. Join us at Macca's on Saturday the 17th of November and let's make a difference.
Keeping your body in perfect shape isn't always easy. Fortunately, keeping your hair in perfect shape is. The Kruger exclusive to Shaver Shop with Japanese steel blades which cut in any direction. The Kruger convenience system, the Clipper, has evolved.
Holy shiitake, $8.95 meals. The U-Foods mega sale is on now. With 45 plus meals to choose from, grab breakfast, lunch or dinner for just $8.95. Shop fresh, healthy meals at ufoods.com.
Member 77531, you have been loyal for many moons and earned thousands of points. To commemorate this joyous occasion, we present to you this plastic card.
Don't get sucked in by pointless points. Switch to Aldi and save money instead. What's good different?
Ready, set, summer at Best and Less. Our party clothes $10 every day. Best price ever. Ready, set, go before they run out. Best and Less.
Now this party, the crowd, the music, plenty of easy drinking other guys like me. Could I get here for 60 minutes? But as an uncomplicated beer, really makes me wonder. Like, When did you decide to create so many flavours of hummus? Is it the hummus already a flavour? And if you've done this to hummus, what's it say about how we're complicating the rest of the world?
Not complicated. We don't need.
And Focus on Furniture, we're loving the versatile windowless sofa. Looks great no matter who wants to be the stylist of your place. Yours for a limited time for only $29.99. Feel good furniture at feel great prices. Get to Focus on Furniture. Australia, you can save in every aisle, every day at Coles. Save on Halloween treats.
Mention your limited edition tea chocolates for 60 grams, down to just $15 each. Save $15. Average share packet plus medium ton size are now $2.30 each. That's half price. Oh, Allen's medium bags just $2 each. That's 50% off.
If you feel like to save $12.54. Good things are happening to prices at Coles.
Are you getting your all this worth?
Always a great price. Always.
You'll find hundreds of low-price all-base products like Greenway Smiling Tums Bacon, no added sugar at just $1 each.
That's why I keep believing.
Have you noticed how social media has become increasingly dominated by so-called influencers? They're usually young, beautiful, and often impossibly fit, sharing their transformative secrets for a better, longer life. These influencers have thousands, sometimes millions, of adoring fans, whose obsession with voyeurism and vanity is only satisfied by an endless stream of filtered, glamorous photos. It's all harmless fun though, right? Well, not always. Sometimes the health advice dished out with slogans and apparently proven by a reviewed selfie is actually so unhealthy it's making people sick. And it's such concern for doctors, it's now a recognised